Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Get ready to rumble!
Pump up the jig, yo, pump it up, yo, pump it.
Welcome to the Pat White Show.
You enjoyed the first half of the interview with the lovely and talented Queen Diane, because if you're ready, we're going to show you part two. That's right. And this time you're going to find out what one time she gave me for Christmas. Not going to believe it. So here we go. My interview with Queen Diane. One of the things that they wanted us to do in the sales department was promotions and going out and doing bits on the street. Well, you know, we go out and do a remote and the places like that. I was not good at that. And I
hated that.
You're
For
right.
as much as you yap on the air or behind a microphone to put you in public, it was like, hi, Pat, how you doing? Hi.
But you know me well enough to know that outside I'm an introvert.
You are. You're as quiet as can be.
And
you really are.
But we went to some places, and one of them were, well, one we did one down at the Shrine Building. I remember I don't remember what it was for, but I remember we did that. But the ones that are probably the most memorable was we went to Dave Hill Beats on Washington Center, and all those things. We did that, and that was a wild time.
I think in Fort Wayne history, there should be a place for the PDQ barbecues at Dave Hill's.
Yep.
I mean, that first year we had it, we had no idea. He ended up having to call the cops for traffic control. It was absolutely insane. You know, we had Secklers out there. We had the duck farm, the duck people. I can't think of them right now.
We had ice cream. We had everybody.
We had ice cream. We had all these people, and you could come and sample and, of course, buy their products. But, geez, there wasn't parking. Icy from the Comets showed up. It was like madness, and all I did, I think, you know, you were doing your thing, and we're looking at each other, and I'm like rolling laughing the whole time.
Oh yeah, you were having a good old time, and the pictures prove it. You know, because those crop up every once in a while. But that was how we just came in and did what Mother Nature told us to do. We weren't.
And if anybody wanted to know, the PDQ barbecue stood for Pat, Dave Hill, and the Queen.
Yep.
PDQ barbecue, baby.
And we did all those things. We did our remotes, went out. I know we were at the Chamber of Commerce one time, and I remember Paul Sawfield, our friend, the realtor guy.
Yeah.
And all the
but at that time, he was still, you know, Paul Sawfield of Stellhorn 1 Hour Photo. Because
yes, he was.
Back in the day, that was, I mean, 1 Hour Photo was incredible. But I went up and made fun of him because his plate said 1 Hour Paul. And yep. I just went up to him and I said, 1 hour, huh? You go, stud. And his face got so red because I don't think he really thought that plate through.
You know, one of the things we also did during the 9/11, remember we got the stickers and we went out and sold those over at the Hall's restaurant over there at the corner of Coliseum and Lima Road. And we were up there selling this. I remember people were giving us money and we were donating the whole thing. And I don't remember how much we got. But I got to thank the folks over who printed our stickers and
it was one of our listeners who said that they would do these stickers and thought maybe if we could sell them $1 each, and then we'd be giving the money to the Red Cross and stuff. And so I took a pile and I said, okay, let's do this. We'll promote it. We're going to be, you know, out there at Halls, you know, in the morning. Of course, I'm like, ugh, because I am not a morning person, but I went out there with a size stack and everything, and I'll never forget, like, we weren't even out there an hour, and I called our operations manager, Tommy, I said, I need more stickers. He's like, well, we left a pack for you. I'm like, they're gone. I need the stickers. I need all of them because there were so many companies that were coming. I mean, we had people from Cordy come, and they had all their trucks come and had those USA flags put on the back. We had a line, and I think we made, I think it was around $7,000. Not just that day. We went through all of them, but they printed up more for us, and we had more outings, and there was such an outpouring of the pride of being an American that I mean,
Well,
I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, all these people are showing up. I'm like, oh my
and
God.
we donated all that money to the Red Cross.
We did.
We did things for the community that we thought was necessary for the community to have. We weren't out there we weren't looking for any glory or anything. We just went out and did what we thought was right.
Because that's what WOWO was. WOWO was always a big part of the community. It's after WGL. WOWO was the second station in Fort Wayne, and you've got this history of it. You have the history of them going out, doing the hops in the 50s and the basketball games, and always being out there, being in parades in the community. And that's just what we did. That was, penny pitch is such a big part of the history of Fort Wayne and such. Which makes me really sad because I don't think that's what WOWO is anymore. My personal opinion, you don't see them out. You don't, it's all automated now. And, they have the morning show, and they don't have that community like we used to do. Like you said, being out and about in it and the craziness of it. I'll never forget when we were doing a parade, and we were doing 2 parades in one day, and you got to ride with me. I have never heard you squeal like a girl like you did in the passenger seat when I was flying from, I forget, it was like Huntington to Columbia City or something.
You scared the hell out of me, for God's sakes. I thought you were going to kill me. You drive like a freaking maniac, and I mean, dang. I can't. I'm surprised I lived through that. That was
yeah.
But yes, I do. But we were in some great parades. We went up to the pickle parade up north.
I still have my plaque as the St. Joe, Indiana Grand Marshal of the Pickle Festival. Thank you very much.
And we were in Auburn. We did the route on parades, and we did all those things.
Huntington would actually have a hot dog ready for me because there was a place that they did hot dogs grilling, and they would have a hot dog, because I love hot dogs, ready for me in the parade. When we did Three Rivers Parade,
yep.
Cindy's Diner, they'd come running out with my little bag.
They'd run out with a bag of donuts for you. I remember them doing that, going, here's your donuts.
Yeah, thinking I was going to share them, the fools.
Well, the time eventually came when you decided that you were going to leave the station and move on to other things, and it was kind of a sad parting, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave. That's the thing, but things had gotten to the point where, we were doing well as a station, and I was happy for you, but you were doing really well. And I was still making $9.75 an hour with a college degree and a successful show. And there were some other things. Personally, I was thrown a lot at me with expectations that were absolutely ridiculous, that were really out of what I should have been doing. And I just threw up my hands and said, you know what? I'm tired of all this. I'm tired of giving up my life for the station. And in fact, when I went to leave, I had so many hours of vacation time due to me. And they asked me, why didn't I take it? I said, well, I couldn't take it because when people were on vacation, I had to fill in or monitor stuff. I couldn't take it because back in the day, you couldn't take vacation 2 weeks before Three Rivers Festival or 2 weeks after, especially being the promotions person. And it was just all this. And they actually had to ask me if they could break my vacation pay up into multiple payments because I had so much. And I was just done with it. I wasn't, financially, it just was burning me out and wasn't worth it.
Well, after you left WOWO, you went to
that was the first time. I left it when I was 30. But I stuck with you.
Yes, you did.
God help me, why? I went and found jobs, but I would come in and I'd work part-time doing a show with you. And I eventually did come back because, I did miss the radio. Not so much, the ego or the glory or anything. I missed being with the public. I love being with the public. I love talking with the public. And I miss that. So I was part-time. They hired me back full-time. Then they took away my full-time, then they expected me just to come in and work 3 hours, and get paid for 3 hours. And again, I told them, I said, I can't live on this. And honestly, Pat, I think you regret my last day, even though I gave them a 2-week notice, they still didn't have anyone to cover for me because they didn't think I was going to leave you.
Well, and as it turns out, you ultimately did, and then you went to another station for a while, and then in April of 2010, April 2010, they fired me.
Yeah.
And I remember that day. I've never been fired before, so I remember that day. And I went out looking for you because I needed someone to talk to who knew the industry, knew what was going on, and knew how I was feeling. So I went up and you at your other station where you were, and I said, "Hey, we got to talk." And I'll
never forget. I came back from lunch, and there you were sitting on the bench outside the building, and I'm like,
Yep.
"What the crap?" And I think I even sat down next to you and said, "What the hell are you doing here? You should be prepping." And you just turned around and looked at me and said they fired me. And I was like, what?
Yep. Well, and then
I was shocked. I was just absolutely flabbergasted. I felt so bad for you at that time.
Well, the next day, Dave Reithmiller called me from WGL, which is where I had worked at in like 1991, doing a 1-hour thing once a week, and asked me to come over, and I got suddenly rehired. I mean, I wasn't really without a job because they immediately rehired me on GL, do that, and they had me with a number of different producers. And I kept saying to Chris, who was I don't know what she was our bigwig. I don't know what
she
Chris
was the president of the company that owned Summit City Radio.
She was the president of the company. And I said, the one lady I want to get is Diane, because she's the only person I trust and I know how she works and how she feels. And I said, but you can't do it. She's sitting where she's doing. And Chris told me, she said, "Oh yeah, hold my beer." And, and she ultimately got to you. I don't know what she said. I don't know how she did it, but eventually
she invited me to lunch at Applebee's. Because I'll never forget it. Because I swore, I laughed going into it, because there was no way I was going to go back into it. Where I was now, I was content. I had a really good group of people I was working with. Of course, the general manager and I, became yin and yang to each other, planning to in life. So I was content where I was. But then she came in, she started talking, did the whole spiel. And I'm like, I don't really, because at that point I was more in the office thing. I wasn't on air. I had moved past all of that. And like I said, I moved past it. I didn't want to get into it. I didn't want to be running boards and phone calls and been there, done that. And I told that to her, and then she put a blank piece of paper in front of me. And she said, "Write what it will take."
Really?
And I looked at her and I said, "Really?" So I thought, you know what? I'm going to make this stupid because she's going to look at me. "Oh, sorry, we can't do it." So, I told her, I said, "I need health insurance to start right away." I'm like, "I need all this vacation time so much." I think I asked for like 3 weeks, maybe 4, maybe 3. I don't know. I asked for a lot of vacation time because the general manager had left the station and he was moving back down to Florida, and I was going to visit him a lot, and he was going to come back, and a relationship. And then I wrote down the pay because I'm like, there's no way she's going to pay me this and everything. And I pushed it over to her, and she looked at me and she's like, okay. She's like, "Can't quite do that. We can start, $2,000 less, but I'll get that up for you in 4 months." And I was like, shit.
She called your bluff.
She did. I'm like, how am I going to say no when I just put down everything that was actually kind of stupid? And so we were together again.
And they brought us back together again. And you and I were together until the stations were sold to Adams Group, and ultimately they basically fired everybody in the company except I think two or three people were left.
They fired everybody who was on a microphone. They didn't care about there was only 3 people that were saved. And that's because part of XKE, JJ was the operations manager of the building.
Yep.
Jason Lee was the production, and of course Doc West, but they were actually going to get rid of Doc West. And JJ had to fight and tell them, you get rid of Doc West, you have just destroyed XKE. You will lose everything and have to deal with so much bad media. That he got to stay, but all the rest of us, in fact, Skip, who was the regional manager, was shocked that they didn't even look at my background of how I could do anything, make money for the station with events, non-traditional revenue. They just didn't care. And then when I went into, did you go and, yeah, you did, because you got the weekend. They gave you a weekend thing.
Yep, they did, but ultimately
yeah, I went to an interview, but they were more the then owner or head of Adams Radio was more interested on his cell phone than what I had to say, and I don't want to work with somebody. But you know what, Pat? Karma's a bitch, because a group bought him out and shoved him out of the way, and he's out of a job. I mean, well, I'm so sad.
But all I can say is you and I dated back into the 1990s, took it into 2010, and ultimately 2014 when I ultimately hung it up. You basically they shut down the station that we were at. But you know what? We didn't have a bad ride.
No, I mean, you think about it. We were together? What, 14 years?
Yep.
Jesus. I mean, when you said that, at the beginning of the show, when I started working with you, I was 25. I am older now than your age when we started working together.
Yep.
God.
But you know what? Looking back, we did some things and we made some things happen. We took WOWO was dying at that time because AM music was dying because FM was kicking its butt. You know that, and I know that. We took it from a talk station from where they were in the middle of the pack or maybe the bottom of the pack, and we took them up to number 1. And you and I did that together.
We did. And we had fun with it. Like I said, you were more the introvert, but we had fun. We had our signals. We worked great because I always tell people that I'll never forget when Art showed us that we were going to be in a studio, a talk show host and the producer in the same studio. I mean, that's so stupid. I mean, the acoustics was going to be a nightmare. But you know what? We made it work because I think being in the studio together, like a lot of times I would use hand signals, like when phone calls would come in, like people, you don't want somebody who goes, oh, I agree with Pat. Oh, I want to talk to Pat because I agree with them. No, you want somebody with else. So if I get somebody clear out in left field, I'd give you the signal of, line 2, nutso, take it. We had a lot of hand signals. I did a lot, to get you on spot, I did hand signals and the countdowns.
And you had to, because if you didn't, I was going to go off into La La Land somewheres.
Yes, you would
because
be.
when I get going, and I'm hard to stop, but you knew how to do it because eventually you figured out how I worked and you kept me under control.
And isn't that people always ask me how I got the name, and isn't that what? Because I tell them I didn't come up with the name, but that's why you named me Queen.
Well, but ultimately it became Pat and the Queen, and that's what we were known as, and that became what Fort Wayne knew as you and I. And I got to tell you, I still get people now saying, "Where's the Queen? What's going on with the Queen?" That's who they refer to you as. You still have that moniker that exists today.
Oh, tell me about it. Tom Didier still calls me Queenie. But no, a lot of people, hockey game still call me Queen. I was somewhere the other day and I was asked, they're like, you were on WOWO, weren't you? And I'm like, yeah, long time ago. But it's amazing how that's kind of still trailed along with us. But, we had fun. I get a lot of people who say I miss the fun. in the afternoon because, to me, radio has become so toxic nowadays. It's either, you're all conservative and the Democrats are, causing problems or this and that. And I just think that talk radio now just inflames so much hatred, and because people can't talk to each other anymore. Like you would always say, let's agree to disagree. Well, there's not that anymore.
No.
It's like this way or screaming match.
Well,
And what we did in the afternoon was we took talk radio into being informative. Like you always said, we were, to inform and entertain.
And that's exactly what we did. But you remember, I got called into the office, the PD's office, to say, "Hey, we want you to sound more like Rush Limbaugh and keep carrying on what Rush is doing." I go, "No, I ain't going to do that because that's politics."
That's what got you fired.
Yeah,
is that they wanted you to be all political and take away the fun.
Couldn't do it.
In this world, it just came out that, we're not in the top 20 of happy countries anymore. It's because we can't talk to each other and everything's so serious. And I get up still to this day, a lot of people say, I miss you guys in the afternoon going home. Because we would be fun. We would have fun. We would be out and about doing fun, crazy stuff. And I miss that part. I really do.
Well, that's one of the reasons I kind of got pulled back into this doing the podcast thing, because my daughter came to me and she said, "Hey, people still talk about you and what you guys did." And she said, "Let's do a podcast." So I was talked into that. And she said that, "Well, if you want to interview somebody, who's the first person you want to interview?" I says, "The Queen. Got to interview Diane. She made the show what the show was, because she kept me on the straight and narrow that I basically was never on."
Well, and I told you when you told me you were thinking about doing a podcast and you're kind of like having your reservations about doing it, not sure.
I did.
I think, come on, admit it. The golden nugget was when I said, it's a podcast, Pat. You can say whatever you want and not then have to go to the office and sign a little form that I will never say this sponsor's name again. I will never do this again. We can say whatever you damn well please.
Well, that's correct, because I did cause the McDonald's thing, but in my defense, I just read that out of USA Today.
And you did that, and I got in trouble, and I wasn't even there that day. It was a fill-in producer who let every Tom, Dick, and Harry on the air, and you can't do that. That's why it's called screening a phone call, babe. But I got in trouble, and I wasn't even there. Thanks, Pat.
Well, all I can say is this has been something I've been waiting to do since I started this thing. I have the list of people that I want to talk to, and your name is number one on the list because you are the person that helped make me who I ended up being on the radio, because without you, I don't think I would have gotten to where I ultimately went to. And I credit you for that.
Well, you should, because that's true.
Well, all I can say to people is we had a great time. We enjoyed what we did. Matter of fact, Christmas for you, because that was the big thing for me. I used to give her some great Christmas things, but she gave me one time for Christmas, and this is true. You could tell the story if you want. What was one of the biggest things you ever gave me for Christmas? You remember? No. It was they were little cans.
Oh my God. That's right. Pat has this love of Vienna sausages.
Yep.
I mean, I love hot dogs and I love all kinds of tube meat, and you can take that any way you want. But those things are disgusting. So I went out and I bought him a case of them. And he thought like angels started like crying or whatever when you opened that up. And I just laughed because, it was simple things with you. And then you bought me some pretty extravagant stuff to the point where it became a thing at the station of, ooh, what'd Pat get you this year? I mean, people literally waited to see what you got me for Christmas.
But to me, that was a deserved thing because you did so much for me. I mean, that was out of friendship. That was out of appreciation for who you were. The fact that you put up with me and not many people could, because I can be
in the butt.
Well, all right, call it what you will. But I tend to be loyal to people, and I respect them.
Well, I think the thing that people didn't understand, because we saw it in the building sometimes with some morning shows and all that people worked together, but that was it. What you heard on the air didn't always go off the air, but what we formed was really truly a friendship. I mean, I always, to this day, I still call you my best bud.
Yep.
We became family, so
And
I think that's
and
a
we've
big key.
and we've known each other for a long time. We're just we know what goes on. But recently we got together when we were over at the mall for my
Uh-huh.
daughter's new store thing, and you were in there and you brought your mom in and everything. No, it's been. I remember going over to when you lived in Three Rivers, go over to your place for the fireworks and meeting your father. It's like I had to go through hell to be approved by him to even be your friend.
No, my dad was like that, but I think that was also maybe where you might have had one too many drinks and we ended up trying to hawk loogies off of my balcony.
No, I'm not going to argue
Come
that.
on,
I don't do
admit
that.
it.
I don't do that anymore. I can guarantee you.
Not anymore, but you did it then.
Well,
But no, we became, the girls. I took Amy to the girls to a Spice Girl concert.
and you taught them to
My
make a gesture.
shoulders.
And you taught them to make a gesture. By the way, they still remember to this day.
I taught the girls how to flip off traffic. We were in traffic. People are cutting me off. Amy was a little bit more, but man, Courtney was all into that. She was double flipping them. And you have to, what were they, like 10 and 12 or something like that? But I went with you guys when, Courtney moved down to IU. And we've just always done, I mean, it was just more, hell, Pat, I would come over and mow your damn yard because I would get so disgusted that you wouldn't mow your yard and you had a damn tractor.
Yeah, that's true.
You sucked at yard work.
Well, all I can say is for us, it has been a very interesting ride. We can look back and say what we did the best we could do. We helped the station become number one. And if they ever get to number one again, God bless them. But at least we know we did our part.
We did our part. In some weird way, we know that we're a part of Fort Wayne, radio history because the longevity that we were on the air, but I don't think neither one of us, we know that's there, but to us, it's just what we did.
It was just our job.
Okay, babe.
Hey, I want to thank you again for being my first guest because you're the one person I wanted on. And I hope that this gets around. I hope people get to see some stuff about you and I that maybe they didn't know.
Okay, and hey, always give me a ring. I'm here
All right,
for
will
you.
do, sweetie. All
Okay,
right.
babe.
Thanks
Bye
again.
now.
Bye now. Well, that does it for today's edition of the Pat White Show. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to follow us on social media for the latest Pat White Show for all the news and updates. And stay tuned for brand new episodes of the Pat White Show coming real soon. Like what you're hearing? Make sure you don't miss an episode by following the Pat White Show on Spotify. Just search for the Pat White Show, hit follow, and get ready for insightful conversations delivered straight to your Spotify feed. If you enjoy watching podcasts as much as listening to them, good news! The Pat White Show is also on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel now for visual content, behind-the-scenes footage, and full podcast experience. Find us on YouTube at the Pat White Show channel.